Hi everyone, it's Clyde again at Vibrant Soap, and today's soap I made an introduction for it, and then I made the soap and some things happened, so I'm coming back to do a new introduction for the soap. A lot of things happened. Number one, I made my titanium dioxide mix a little bit too soon, so by the time I used it, a little skin formed on the top of it, and when I blended it again, it made these little tiny chunks that ended up making little starry twinkles in the soap. So it ended up being kind of interesting, and I like it. It contributed to the design. The other thing is that I'm using a new recipe that I'm playing around with, and so when I covered it over to gel the soap, it was heating just fine. I felt the side of the mold, but when I checked it later on, it was very hot, and there was a crack down part of the loaf top. So, we don't really like that, but I'll show you what I did to salvage almost every bit of that soap by cutting it differently in some parts of it. So that happened, and also there's the color tutorial. In this case, I used some brown along with the purples, and I think it really worked out. You can use brown and if you're really careful about it. Usually we try to avoid it by not over mixing our colors, but you can introduce a little bit of brown. It acts like a neutral, especially when you use it with the right colors that have something to do with that brown. So I hope you find this soap making experience interesting. So if you're interested in the color tutorial, you can hit that little eye icon right there, and you can bypass it if you want to, but this time it's a little interesting because of the introduction to brown to the vibrant colors. So let's get on with the soap making. Okay, everything's about 74 degrees, and I've got argan oil, hemp oil, olive oil, coconut oil, shea butter, cocoa butter, no palm oil. And the first thing I'm going to do is blend that all together. Also got my kaolin clay and sodium lactate in there. And it's the hemp oil that makes a little bit of a green color in there. Okay, so let me get my lye solution in there. And once again, it has silk in there. Just want to make sure that all the silk is dissolved in the lye. So I'm straining it. Let's blend that a little bit. And get my black raspberry vanilla fragrance in there. Hoping this stays pretty liquid. I altered the recipe again. Okay, that's good. And I just want emulsification so that I can blend the rest of that when I do the colors. I've got the typical black raspberry vanilla colors in there. Use some activated charcoal in one of the purples, but I also am including a surprise color in there just to keep it a little different. Actually, there's two different colors in there. I've got a sort of a coppery bronzy brown, and I've got cornflower blue in there too. And to the main batch, I'm going to use my titanium dioxide. And let's blend that first. Okay, so let's get the Lazy Susan in there again. And once again, I'm going to put a layer of white in there first. It's like a cream color. Let's get about half of that in there. Actually, do something different. I'm going to get most of it in there. going to start with this Aborigine amber mica. And let's get that around the outside edge. I'll just use all of it. And let's get some of this. I can't remember if this is the purple with the activated charcoal in it quite yet. Sometimes the black doesn't really show off until it's actually in the soap. I think this is the one with the activated charcoal. And I'm going to intermingle that on the outside edge. Save a little bit of that. Then I'm going to get this Fiery Fusion mica. It's such a deep, intense pink. I'm going to pour that a little bit in from those two other colors. Save a little bit of that. Going to my Cornflower Celebration mica. Love this color. It's a dusty gray blue, although it's a little bit more than a gray. So I really love it, the subtlety of this one. Soap is staying nice and fluid. I'm going to pour this in a ring right on the inside of the pink ring. Save some of that. One of my newest favorite purples is this Eat Cake by Muddy Soap Co. It's a really reddish purple. Pour that inside the blue. And finally my purple without the black in it. This is basic purple from Rustic Essentials. And with this one, I'm going to make another circle inside the pink. Inside the Eat Cake mica. And then I've got this white left over. So let me... Soap has a current to it as you pour, and it drags the colors down when you pour it. So I'm going to do that right in the middle. Let's see what that ends up doing. And many people on YouTube encouraging me to continue experimenting with this concentric circle pour, and I'm still doing it. I'm very entertained by what's happening with it. So every time I do it, I'm doing it a little bit more differently. And for those of you that want to experiment too, one of the things I'm doing is using a fragrance that I know is not going to accelerate. Plus I ran out of my black raspberry vanilla soaps, and that's famous for being really easy to work with. Okay, so let's get this poured and just pour that right in the middle. I love watching this pour. And I can tell that if there's ever a chancy color that you put into soap, I mean, you want to try to keep things vibrant and colorful, is to use a brown intentionally. And brown really has a great look to it when you use it in a limited way and with the right colors. You can pick up on a lot of the colors that are in your color scheme, because brown is a combination of complementary colors, so it's compatible because of that, because it has a lot of colors in it. You can get a nice brown by adding purple and its complement yellow, and I can look at a brown now and I can tell whether it has a certain quality of a color in it. This one seems to have a little purple in it. Okay, so let's chop that down. There, anyway, I want the bright colors on top. Try to put contrasting colors next to each other. And I really like how this recipe is working. By taking its time to saponify, it's not accelerating, but it is getting a little more thick. There, that's all in there. So let's take advantage of that. And what I mean by that is taking advantage of the fact that it poured so nicely in straight lines. Just going to do a simple back and forth for this. You can see that cornflower blue, how beautiful that works with the rest of the colors. So it's nice to take chances sometimes. It's not really part of a particular color scheme, although they're all related because blue and red make purple, and that pink is deep enough to almost be like a red. Okay, so let's show you this top and then bring you back for the cut. So I want to show you something that happens from time to time. Doesn't happen much to me, but in this particular case, I've been playing with some new recipes. I wanted to increase the amount of sort of luxurious oils, and I also included milk in this recipe, and milk has sugars in it as well as some other ingredients, and some have sugar in it. So you add it to the soap. When the soap saponifies, it gets hot, and so I thought, well, I'm just going to cover the soap and let it gel, because when it heats up, it gels. It becomes a little bit more on the translucent side a bit, but the colors become more vibrant, so it's an attractive thing for me to do to my soaps. But in this case, it overheated. When I checked on the soap a little bit later, it was really warm, and I just put my hand on the side of the mold, and it was really warm. But at that moment in time, I should have probably uncovered it, I came back later, it was still warm, and I looked at it this time, and then I saw this crack. So it looks like it only cracked in the middle, and I don't know how deep it's gone. So what I'm going to do is what I showed you in a past video not too long ago, and I'm going to cut this side vertically like I usually do, and this side as well, and then I'm going to leave about 3 1/4 inches uncut in the middle. That's about the height of the bar, and I'm going to cut those horizontally, so I'll still have a lot of bars, and we'll see. Probably I'll just lose this one top one here, and I'll use that for myself. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Okay, so from the side view you can see all the colors that I used. You can see that brown and that plum purple red. 2 purples, although I don't really see the difference between the 2 dark purples yet. One purple had a little bit of activated charcoal in it to make it a little darker. So you can see how the brown works in that too. So here you can see the crack in the top right there. I get little specks of titanium dioxide this time, and that's because I mixed it before I made the soap, and it kind of formed a skin on top, and I tried to blend it in, but it doesn't bother me that much. But I like the swirl. Makes it looks like it's sparkling a little bit. Okay, so this one, if I cut it the thickness that I'm doing, it'll go right to that cracked area. So I think I'm going to cut this into some sample size slices to bring it right up to that crack. Yep, so far so good. I can do another one. And it's still okay. So this is a really rich soap recipe, but as I look at it, I'm going to adjust it back to where it was before. I altered this one to get a little bit more bubbles, and it was bubbling just fine, so I think I just tampered with something that was pretty good as it was. It's not worth it. I could also cut back on the milk. Something tells me it's like, has to do with the way it gelled when overheated, that I got something that looks like glycerin rivers, but it's not a river, it's more of a texture looking thing. But you learn more when you have an idea about your batter and you continue to tweak the recipe a bit, and then you learn what works and what doesn't work. So I've done that quite a bit since I've been a soap maker. This one looks nice. But lately there's been this interest in maintaining the look of glycerin rivers because it does add something to a design, and it's not a horrible thing. I'll wait and see how this soap works. If it really does function as a soap, it's still soap calc says that it's a creamy soap, but it has increased its bubbly nature, then it might be worth keeping this and just not letting it gel next time. So a lot of things to consider. Okay, so let me bring out my trusty ruler, and it's right about that measurement where I'm going to cut it from the bottom. Notice that that side doesn't have anything in it, basically. But I did save a full bar. Let's see what this one does. Let's see, did I do that right? Do it this way. Oh, that's so interesting. The top has some. It's really interesting to cut your soap horizontally sometimes to find interesting things about the pour. We'll see how far the crack went down. Oh, good. So this one doesn't have the crack. The crack only happened to the very top. It's an interesting swirl. So then this one can be cut in half where the crack happened. And I'll do that later. So let's bring one back and say thanks for watching. And you know, soaping doesn't always go the way you planned, but as people made comments in the last one that, yeah, the happy accidents are really a good thing sometimes, and that's really how we learn. And I'm really on this kick the last couple months of soap making that I want to bump it up a notch and experiment and try to come up with some unique looking soap. So when you do that, you get these little things that happen that are unexpected, and you look at it and you might think, oh, that's not what I wanted, but then you look at it again and say, well, that's really worth exploration. Maybe it'll turn into something fantastic, but in the meantime you still have great soap, as long as it really functions well. It doesn't hurt anybody, so still make sure that the soap is not lye heavy, and I always make sure I super fat my soap so that doesn't happen. But yeah, so thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye everybody.